Okay, here we are. We're back. So this is the third day of Sukkot. Actually, this is nighttime. So this is the fourth, I guess. So anyway, we're on day 30. This is the last day of Tomer Devorah, the last reading for Tomer Devorah. We're in chapter 10. This is the aspect, the attribute of Malchut. So again, this is where we're learning how to emulate the Creator. And the Sephirot are attributes of the Creator. Certain essences. It has nothing to do with, they're not individual entities that we deal with. Okay, it's like facets of a gem, right? Before the morning prayer, so Shachrit, one should stand in the Beit HaKnesset, the synagogue, his mouth a wellspring flowing with prayer, unifying Yesod, the source of the wellspring that opens into the well, which is the Beit HaKnesset, the synagogue. And he rectifies the Shekhinah by concentrating to the best of his ability in his prayers. If you actually study the prayers and all the intricacies of that and what they're there for and which each thing is all about, and you can go deep and you can keep going the rest of your life and learning about it. If you learn how to connect to the actual things that you're saying, it will be so impressionable to you. It will absolutely transform your life, and you will probably have a really hard time not doing the liturgy, not going through with the prayers, because, you know, for instance, whenever you say Shachrit and you have like Psalm 100, Mizmor Toda, okay? So when you connect with that, what you're actually doing is you're creating sacred space. The space where you're praying is becoming a sacred space, because that was actually a prophetic psalm that was used in the temple whenever they would expand the court, whenever they would sanctify a new area of the courtyard around the temple. They would have a parade or a procession with prophets, Kohanim, sacrifices, and they would sing that psalm as well as some other psalms. That would be their parade and procession. So that is a part of a ceremony for making and creating sacred space. So even though you're not making sacred space for the courtyard of the temple, you're literally making that sacred space for yourself. And that's why the place where you pray becomes a very special place. Okay, so it says, and he leaves there, he ascends to the essence of Torah. And I'll just go back to this because there's a lot of stuff like in Pesuki de Zimra that, you know, it actually kind of grieves me just a little bit to see that people daven almost like ignorant and aged, where there's no energy to it, because those are supposed to be Zemirot. They're supposed to be songs of praise. Sorry. Verses of Zemirot, right? It's supposed to be almost like Hallel, where it's sung and it's energetic and everything. It's supposed to absolutely lift you up and get you into that spot where you're ready to daven the Amidah. And if you do it correctly, if you understand all these keys to that, it will take you there. And it's almost like, you know, the rest of the world has things like they might consider hypnotism. Like those psalms were created by prophets and sages to literally put you in that place, right? The Baal Shem Tov taught, a man is where his thoughts are. Whenever you start to understand what those psalms are and what they come against and what they're for and what they bring out and everything like that, it just transforms. It will transform your life. But anyway, so we go back to that. So when he leaves there, he ascends to the essence of Torah and binds himself to it according to the essence of the attribute of day, which is Tiferet. He conducts himself with it, this behavior, the whole day until the afternoon hours of Mincha, when he binds himself to Gevurah. For in the morning he binds himself to Chesed in his prayers, which obviously is Avraham, right? For in the during the day to Tiferet with his Torah learning, and towards evening to Gevurah. All this is in order to bind everything with the attribute of day, Tiferet, right? Which comes to the Beit HaKnesset to become unified with the essence of Gevurah, the same way he did in his morning prayer with the aspect of Chesed. Between these two prayers, he also binds the Shekhinah to himself by means of his meal, with which he grants kindness to the poor woman, that's quotes, poor woman. As Hillel the elder used to say before going to eat, I am granting kindness to my poor guest, meaning his soul. A righteous man knows the soul of his animal. So he's referring to his animal soul, almost like. So a righteous man knows the soul of his animal. Mishlei 12:10. This can be explained as one's intention in his meal should be to grant kindness to his animal soul, to bind it to the essence of mazon. So mazon is translated food, but I think it's more specifically like nourishment. And it's referring to the numerical value of mazon. So mazon is zone, which is zain noon. So 7 and 50. So 57 is the gematria of El Havaya. So God's 4-letter name, Yod He Bavav He, and Aleph Lamed. Okay, that creates the same gematria as zone, or from the word that we use mazon for food. So like we say Birkat Hamazon. So that is connecting to the 2 names of God. Okay, so after he ascends to the time of Mincha, the afternoon hours, and has been bound to Devorah, he then waits for night until Tiferet descends to Malchut. Thus he is with her, that is Malchut, at the beginning of the night, and binds himself to her. He then enters the Beit HaKnesset with the intent mentioned above, and binds himself below as Tiferet comes to its place of lodging. When he exits the Beit HaKnesset, he should actually unite himself with Malchut alone, according to the essence of accepting the yoke of the heavenly kingdom. This should be his daily schedule, corresponding to the cycle of the Sephirah, so that he always cleaves to the dominant light, the dominant Sephirah. This advice is found mainly in the Zohar and Parshat Bereshit, and the rest of it has been gathered from many places in the Zohar. This is a comprehensive advice by which man can always bind himself to holiness with the crown of the Shekhinah never absent from above his head. And I'll just finish this. It says, finished and completed with the praise to God who knows all that is hidden. Today, the 4th day of the week of the 12th of Mar Cheshvan, the year 5,349, the numerical value of Esmach, and the verse, may my words be sweet to him, I will rejoice in him. Psalms 104, verse 34. So basically, we can see that because if we look at our day, we can see how Abraham contributes to the morning, because the morning is like, the previous day is wiped away, everything's there, and it's like easy to like come in, you go to work, you meet people, and you're like, it's easy to be nice and kind to people in the morning. That chesed, it's the time of chesed. Whereas like after people have all their troubles, all their gevura, then it becomes, that there's a different time of the day. And then there's like that accomplishment part of the day, and it's like Tiferet, right? So it's all, it's built into the universe. We just have to be sensitive enough. The way that sometimes things like this are written, we don't actually get the idea of what it's, we think, okay, well, like Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, like we kind of like, we don't exactly look at it. We see those words, we see what we're saying, but we don't actually think like, wow, we need to be sensitive enough to actually see, what does that feel like? That part of that day, it actually has a certain feeling. What does this part of the day feel like? What does that part of the day feel like? Because that's what is the dominant part of that. So it's absolutely, that's the way it works. It's the universe is built this way. And it just takes a book like this or somebody to teach you to be sensitive enough to absolutely understand what those are. And we just have to align ourselves with that. So if we know that something is a time of chesed, if it's a time of gevura or whatnot, we just understand how you're supposed to interact with that. You have to learn how to be sensitive in your life to these things. Just like being sensitive in your life to what Hashem is showing you through Lashon HaKodesh, through language, through everything that comes down the line through you. Like you see different things that come into your life, right? And you translate that into Lashon HaKodesh, and that's a way of being sensitive to the world around us and being sensitive. Some of the most important things is to be empathetic to the people around you as well. Understand how they're feeling and what aspects they're dealing with, right? So whenever you learn how to be sensitive to your own life, you can also learn how to be sensitive to somebody else's life. And this is what this whole book was all about, is learning how to emulate your Creator so that you can interact with those around you. And then also learning from our interactions from people around us, like with the word tzedakah, on how to interact with the Creator. Because like tzedakah can be broken down into the 4 letters, Zadi, Dalet, what is it? Kuf, hey, right? And that's how, that's like an acronym for how we interact with Hashem. And that was in one of the days here. So anyway, so if you've gone through this with me, hopefully this has helped you to transform your life. Some of the later chapters were a little bit more mystical, and it wasn't exact like with the Sephirot and everything, and it wasn't like the first chapter. But still, it's something good to review and go over. And this is a perfect time of the year to get a fresh start on life. Look at things a different way. We're in the Sukkah, right? We look at things a different way. We're like, wow, this is such a temporary structure. It's such a fragile structure. But yet, Hashem kept us under his cloud, 40 years in the desert. It was just like this. So vulnerable to everything around you. Like all the other nations, they lived in walled cities and walled cities. And here is Bnei Yisrael in the wilderness, without resources, living in a very, what do you want to call it? A very fragile and almost indefensible structure, right? But Hashem was there for us every moment to protect us from the sun, from the enemies, from the lack of natural resources and everything else, feeding us along the way. Everything that we needed. I mean, this was a very special Sukkot for myself, and the last one was too. Many of them are, but the last two being memorable to me because, you might like struggle. You need funds for like a holiday, and here it is, like right at the perfect time. They come at the right. It comes at the right time. So anyway, hopefully, you've learned a lot through this, and may your life be filled with blessing. Chag Sameach.